Hiya, it's Molly from the Reading Hour. I hope you're all well where you are. It's been pretty quiet on my channel this week, and that's because I have been solely focusing on finishing Middlemarch by George Eliot. I'm so pleased. This is 900 pages long. It took me about 3 weeks. The poor thing has been rather it looks okay actually, but it's been pretty battered. It's been carried about with me in my bag for the past 3 weeks. I think it's had yogurt on it at some point. I definitely spilled some tea on it at one point, but it's going strong. And yeah, I'm really, really proud to say that I finished this. Anybody who's new here I want you to know that I'm fairly new to classics. I read a handful last year. I'd read some at school, but other than that, had sort of limited knowledge of them, really, experience with them. And so diving into something like Middlemarch was pretty ambitious for me. And there were times during this that were a bit touch and go. But once I kind of found my feet with this, found my feet with the language style, the vast array of characters that you have to get your head around. Once I kind of got on with that, we were rocking and rolling really, and I ended up enjoying this very much. I've got a lot to say about this, but I think that it's likely there's nothing new that little old me has to say about Middlemarch that hasn't been said already, so I'm going to keep this fairly short and sweet, but I hope that maybe it encourages somebody out there to read this and enjoy this as well. Equally, it might put somebody off. I'm going to be kind of honest about some of the difficulties that I had with this, and I think that this book is not for everybody. But yeah, let's start. Let's have a chat about Middlemarch by George Eliot. So Middlemarch is set in the small town of Middlemarch, a fictional town, and it's set in sort of like the early 1800s, I think like the late 1820s going into the 1830s, but it was actually published later than that. It was published in, I think it was 1871 to 72, and it was published in like shorter books, like volumes. I've not read too much about how well it was received initially. I know that it is now considered one of the most sort of important and influential English novels ever. As I said, there's so many characters. She throws characters at you, especially in the beginning, and she does not hold your hand with it. You are just getting conversation after conversation, and she will put you in one place, then she'll pick you up and she'll put you somewhere else. But the main sort of character arcs that you eventually do sort of get your hands on is Dorothea Brooks, who is a young, very beautiful but idealistic woman who's maybe quite naive. But wants to have a good, meaningful life. And she marries the very, very dull academic Casaubon, who she believes that she is going to have access to an academic world that she's not going to get with somebody else. And yeah, the story follows her eventually being very disappointed by him and him her as well, actually, in sort of the failure of their marriage. So I've just realised while I've been editing that I completely forgot about Will Ladislaw, which is crazy because he's like central to the plot. But maybe it's because he's pretty boring. But yeah, probably one of my like least favourite characters, but he is in a sort of peculiar love triangle. He's the nephew or cousin of Casaubon, and he's in a rather peculiar love triangle between Dorothea, Casaubon and Will. And Dorothea and Will's romance doesn't blossom until after the wedding, and it is sort of the exploration of a love that can never happen, and obviously Casaubon is acutely aware of it as well. So that was sort of the main plot, which I forgot about. Doesn't bode well, does it, for the rest of the review? Oh, stick with me. That being said, it wasn't my favourite love story. There's another one with Fred Vincy, who is the son of the mayor, I believe, and he is very keen on Mary Garth, who's sort of lower in class, and his family would be sort of very ashamed if he got involved with her in any way, but still she's a wonderful character, and her heart and soul and her sort of character is, he falls in love with her very quickly and very easily. I think they're childhood friends. I enjoyed that one the most. It's probably the one Eliot spent the least time on, which was maybe a little bit disappointing for me, but maybe that's why. Maybe it was because it was a little bit more scarce in the novel, so I was waiting for it. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed Mary and Fred. I thought they were the two of my favourite characters. Then the other one, which was maybe the weaker one for me, was Lydgate, who is a doctor who's kind of after reforming the medical field at that time, and is kind of being shunned for that reason. And his marriage to Fred's sister, Rosamond Vincy. And she is kind of depicted as a bit selfish, a bit frivolous, maybe a little bit shallow, and yeah, we follow their marriage and the trials and tribulations of their relationship as well. So yeah, that's kind of what the story is, the three main threads that run through the story. Around that, you've got countless other characters. Some are really interesting, some less so. I liked, is it Miss Calwadder, Cal something? Can't remember. But there's a lot of sort of gossip that goes on while these stories are sort of hanging about. We get a lot of gossip in Middlemarch of people sort of, you know, tittering about what's going on. And yeah, she's kind of the main sort of drive of a lot of that gossip and a lot of the negativity. The book has sections that I preferred, and equally had some sections that I thought were weaker, or some themes, some storylines that I thought were weaker as well, or at least I don't know if weaker is the term, but at least they didn't appeal to me as much. So the first one is that I'm not going to pretend for a second that I know the first thing about the Whig Party, the Reform Act, the Catholic question. You know, there's a lot of sort of historical issues, themes running through that I sort of lacked knowledge on. And when I first started the novel, I did try and sort of Google the odd thing and educate myself, which gave me a basic skeleton of some knowledge that allowed me to proceed. But yeah, there was quite a lot of that, and there was quite a lot of that in the first 200 pages. And so that leads on quite nicely to my next point of things that I thought was slightly weaker, is that the first 200 pages, there is a very, very slow setup for what's coming. There'll be a lot of people out there that will pick this book up, get to page 50, 100 and think, nah, this isn't for me. And I think if I didn't have you know, plans to review this on my channel, maybe I would have done the same. But once you hit that 200-ish mark, it really, really does pick up, but it does take her a while to get there. So now that my couple of gripes are out the way, I want to talk about what I absolutely loved about this book. So George Eliot's description of human behaviour and communication is fascinating and like nothing I've ever read before. The way she describes the subtleties between two people that maybe are in love and are having difficulty expressing that to each other, maybe two people that are concealing information from each other, or like complex misunderstandings of a situation. She has an unbelievable skill. What does she call it? A study of provincial life, human beings in that period, living in that kind of place, and it's fascinating the sort of depths that she will go to describe the inner thoughts and feelings of these characters. The characters are so beautiful. They are so fully fleshed out. You know, there are characters in this book that I know I've met these people. You know, this book has got everything in it, and there are these sort of very human shared experiences is what she does so well and so beautifully. I feel like George Eliot gave me another perspective on like marriage at the time. Like everybody knows that marriage was used for wealth, to get higher status, to get land, but she gave me another perspective that I've not really read about before. So Dorothea wants to marry Casaubon because she wants to have access to, I think she actually calls it male knowledge at one point. She wants to, and she kind of goes, oh, but not completely. I just want to be sort of on the side of it. You know, she's like, oh no, please don't think me vulgar and think that I want to start actually studying it. I just want to help with it. But I thought that was really interesting that she's trying to use marriage to get her foot in the door in terms of intellectual pursuits. I thought that was really wonderful. There was a really, really funny section where it's Bulstrode, Bulstrode was one of the character I was least interested in, but he's a banker and he sort of owns a lot of land in the area and has his fingers in a lot of pies, and I think he gives loans out to people as well. And there's this one section when he comes home to his wife and he goes to her for a cuddle, and you know, he sort of says, like, he always sort of expects a cuddle from her because it is her duty as a wife to provide him comfort. But equally in that moment he says like, you know, I really love you, or, you know, you've always been good to me, or something along those lines. And she sort of goes, oh, are you unwell? What's wrong with you? I thought that was really funny, that you've got these really strong relationships, you know, these marriages that have, you know, stood the test of time and have lasted. But equally the love isn't there. It's like a sort of, it's almost like a sort of business relationship. I don't know, I'm blabbing a bit here, but because she covers marriage across so many characters, I think what she's trying to say is that it's fascinating, isn't it, how relationships develop, why people get married, why it works and why it doesn't. And so that was a section of it. Well, sorry, not even a section. That was a theme that ran through the whole thing that I really, really enjoyed as well. So overall, the thing that stayed with me that I wanted to share with you, that might be my little brain making sense of this novel. Imagine a model village, right? And it is tiny, but it's tiny to you, but to the people inside, it is all they know. And George Eliot covers every single little person in that, and we zoom into their trials and tribulations in their little bubble, and then we zoom back out, and then we go to somebody else, and we zoom back out and we go to somebody else. And every time you're going, it's like weaving thread between each one, and it's amazing. I would be really, really interested to know how she plotted this, the way she intertwines the stories, and how they finally, you know, reach the end is really quite, it is a little slice of genius. It always blows my mind that people were able to do this without computers as well. So yeah, that is marvellous about this novel. But there's a little but. This doesn't quite make 5 stars for me, because there were sections of this where I was like, come on, love. You have said the same thing like 3 times at this point, but like different wording. And does it need to be 900 pages? 900 pages is a lot. We are in a generation now where we get entertainment quickly. It's fast paced. It's you know, if you're not entertained by it, you can just go and go up. And I'm aware that my, you know, almost 28-year-old brain has been affected by that, and I know that I'm struggling to pick it up in these moments because it requires a lot of attention from me for a long period of time, for weeks on end. And I think a lot of people are going to find that hard, and I did find that hard. I rated A Court of Thorns and Roses 5 stars. This is on a completely different playing field, but I can't deny that I absolutely loved A Court of Thorns and Roses. I had a great time. This is completely different. I know that they're not comparable. So how can I be rating them on the same star system? I'm blabbing now, but it's because I take this very seriously. But I don't know how to rate this. I don't know how to rate this because it didn't grab me with every single page. But is a 900-page book going to grab me with every single page? I'm conflicted. She takes a human soul and she makes it words. That's what George Eliot does. And yeah, it's a masterpiece. It's beautiful, but it was a bit of a slog. Those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you next week.